Aboro, Aboye, Aboshisha, and welcome to our Fridays live on the IFA Orisa Tradition Discussion live stream. We are streaming on the Ile Ijuba Ode Otun, which is our Ile, and today we are going to continue discussing African Survivals in Trinidad and Tobago by J.D. Elder, where we will be discussing the information that is needed for genealogical research. But before we go deeply into today's subject, let me first begin by offering the Iba. Openi fún Ọlọ́run, Olódùmarè ọba àjíkì, Mojiloni, Mowogun Meriaye, Iba Ila, Orun, Iba Iwo, Orun, Iba Ariwa, Iba Gusu, Iba Oba Igba Aye, Iba Orun, Oke, Iba Baba, Iba Yeye, Iba Atiwo, Orun, Iba She, Igungun Kiki Igungun, Iba She Ori, Ori Inu, Ipori Atiwo, Orun. Ashe, Ashe, Ashesho. All right, so we are gonna continue from where we left off last week. All right, I believe we covered quite a bit last week. We did some reading about the areas in which the Yorubas settled, the Hausas, the Congos, the Igbos, and the Rada community. All right, otherwise called the Alada or the Arada. So today we are going to continue and we are going to deal with the Mandingos. All right, the Mandingos, one of the areas in which they settled in Trinidad, is referred to as Mandinga Road in Naparima. All right, they also settled an area also known as Lengua. All right, this now I'm going to read an excerpt, a slight excerpt. I don't think I have the entire thing, but I'm going to read what I have from the book by J.D. Elder called African Survivals in Trinidad and Tobago. All right, he says this nation called the Mandenka, Mande, and Malinke by the historians is well represented in Trinidad among the Grenadine migrants, many of whom had arrived free and settled in Moruga and in the Montserrat Hill. Mandingos have made history in Trinidad very early during the British regime between 1797 and 1962 at the height of the movement for abolition of slavery. A group of Mandingos resident in Port of Spain and under the leadership of a famous black Muslim called Jonas Muhammad Bath, a priest by occupation and magistrate among his people, petitioned for reparation of Mandingos who had earned their freedom to their native home in Africa. Bath and his group of free Mandingos, according to the records, were a literate and knowledgeable set of Africans and in 1834 they drew up a memorial written in Arabic, which they transmitted to the Queen in Parliament for action. Historians have noted that the great support which this demand received both within and outside of Parliament. All right, so this is what J.D. Elders had to say about the Mandingos. All right, I'm now going to read something on another group that is called the Temne. All right, this migrant group, right, came from Carriacou and settled at New Village in Point, all right, which is South Trinidad. Let me read what J.D. Elder have to say concerning the Temne people. All right. He said, at a nation dance, whether in the Grenadines or in Trinidad, where the old ancestors are worshipped and honored collectively, the nations sing songs of anxiety about the Temne in the Caribbean. All right, and it has some of the lyrics here from one of the songs. It says, Temne aye, a Temne o, since I come, I no see Temne o mano. Temne o mano, eh, Temne o. All right, that's part of the song that is sung in the big dance or the nation songs during the big dance, the big drum, sorry, or the nation dance. The Temne nation are always the last to enter the dance. In Africa, they are a small nation, according to Ajayi. Their songs are haunting and solemn, pentatonic and rhythmic. By the term pentatonic, they simply mean they use a scale of 5 notes. Pentatonic and rhythmic. Their dance is openly erotic and suggestive of a copulation mime. Historically, these people were once a comparatively great kingdom in the West African rainforest belt and are of the Kwa language family. In the Caribbean, all they have brought with them is their culture, something spiritual, and their oral tradition. Their musical and choreographic arts from what today is Sierra Leone, they were brought into the West Indies, where it is said in the ancient song that their women were among the most beautiful of the nations. Without them, the ancestors would not enter the ritual dance. In making out a case for African, Afro Caribbean political cooperation and demographic evidence available in proof of cultural continuities between the two communities would seem to be the most impressive and significant as supportive data. At the opening by Dr. Onwuku Dike of the First African Population Conference in January 1966, the professor said, the planners of African governments themselves have become increasingly aware that the formulations of adequate and realistic plans for economic and social development requires profound knowledge of a country's population. This is the view taken in this study. If Africans and the black people of the Caribbean are jointly to evolve feasible political, economic, cultural, and social development plans, they must have thorough knowledge of each other's populations and understanding of their cultural heritage, which is something we always dream of, and we hope one day that we could understand the people of West Africa and develop closer ties. All right, that would lead, obviously and hopefully, for the independence of Africa and for the economic development of people of African and indigenous descendancy in the region for progress. This has been tried and planned and worked on for a long time with very little success, where there have been continuous effort to frustrate the movement of Pan Africanism. But I'm afraid the time is coming when no force outside of nature would be able to prevent the unity of our people. All right, and with that, I would like to end the reading. All right, the only additional thing here, and I don't have a reading on that from Dr. J.D. Elder. The Coromanti, which is a small group of Ashanti people associated with the nation dance ancestor cult from Carriacou, settled in Vance River and in Point Fortin. And that basically ends the location of all the various groups that settled in Trinidad. All right. So, guys, people, I would like to thank you all for stopping in and for taking in our Friday live. All right. And as usual, my words of admonition is you do good for yourself. You do bad for yourself. So I encourage everyone to always do good. All right. Hopefully soon we may move our live streams to another platform, right? Because for some strange reason, Facebook seemed to have a problem with the messages that I bring to our people. All right. Beside underscoring my number of views, they are now basically saying that I have to share these lives as some short clip or something like that. I don't know exactly what is Facebook's problem, but we would have another platform that we would share on the page. All right, I'd like to thank everyone again and say Odabo. See you next stream.